Again from Las Vegas Motor Speedway, it is time for final practice in the NASCAR Xfinity Series. Our Fast Friday coverage on FS2 presented by K&N. And the weather consistent all weekend long. 79 right now, exactly where it was when we had our first practice a couple hours ago. In fact, the track temperature has gone down from 97 to 93. And speaking of that opening session earlier on, here's a look at the top 10. Interesting mix of Series regulars and Monster Energy Series drivers that will race here this weekend. But at the top of the board, Las Vegas, Nevada's own Brendan Gaughan. And he told us late in that opening practice, it was, in fact, a mock qualifying run. Welcome in, everybody, with Michael Waltrip and America's Crew Chief Larry McReynolds. I'm Adam Alexander. So, mock qualifying runs. We're going to see more of them here in this final tune-up, Michael?
I think so. I think there's going to be a little bit of a mixed agenda. You're going to have guys making the longer runs. And what I loved, Adam, about that first practice session, speeds of almost 195 miles an hour into the corners. That's how we're going to race tomorrow. And the groove is already widening out. So we're going to see some great competition. And these guys need to figure out how to bounce through the bumps better than the other guy. That's where the speed will be on a long run.
When final practice gets underway, Larry, you're watching who?
Well, Austin Dillon, 2 years ago, sat on the pole and dominated this race. Always fast here. But unlike his teammate Brendan Gaughan that was quickest, Austin Dillon could only find to be 18th quickest. So I'm sure a lot of work in that garage area since practice ended about an hour ago.
I said you need to place a bet on him, and you said not so fast.
Not so fast. Need to wait and see a little more.
Let's go down to Jamie Little. Good to have you along, Jamie.
Thank you, Adam. Good to be on board and talking with my fellow Las Vegan here. Brendan Gaughan, fastest last practice, as you guys pointed out, but you're just kind of casual right now. What's your game plan for this second practice?
Well, first, got to make sure we're positioned right. Hold on. City Light Shine, not South Point. Don't care about South Point, City Light Shine.
New sponsor this weekend.
Thank you. No, it's the game plan is to go out there and keep running South Point Chevy, see if it stays tight. The sun just went away, so that'll probably pick some speeds up. But we felt pretty good in the first practice, and Shane has a little plan that he wants to run a couple shocks through and a couple minor wedge adjustments, so we're going to give it a shot, see what it does.
You've never won this race in an Xfinity car. What would it mean for you, for the local boy, to win here?
Yeah, I've been fortunate enough to win here in a Winston West K&N car in the Truck Series, and I would certainly love to add the Xfinity Series to that because some of the most special memories of my life happened from winning here. So, God, I would love to do it, man. 41 years old, 20 years later, 500 start and coming to win. There are not many stories that are as good as that, except maybe the way Waltrip won his, with his brother calling it. So, I mean, that'd be pretty special for me.
Be quite the celebration. Chris Neville?
Well, Jamie, the last 8 times we've visited mile-and-a-half racetracks, Elliott Sadler has finished in the top 6 each and every weekend. He said last year, last part of the season, they just found the sweet spot with that program, and it's carried over into 2017. Now, he's just 10th quick in that first practice, but he said the problem is after they fire off, the car just got way too tight. So the plan for this practice is they're going to run old tires for about the first half of the practice, then go out on a new set late. He said the big question that needs to be answered is how loose do we need to start to have speed at the end of the run?
And only 2 sets of tires to work with in practice this weekend. All the teams issued 7 sets. Unless you're a rookie, you got 8. You got to turn in 2 at the end of practice. You qualify on a set, have 4 in the pits for the green flag here tomorrow afternoon. Look at Ty Dillon. Looking to snap that long winless streak. More than 80 races. Hard to believe it's been that long since he got to victory lane at Indianapolis a couple of years ago.
Yes, 4 starts here in the Xfinity Series. Of course, he's making his Monster Energy Cup Series debut here on Sunday.
How about Big Brother? Austin Dillon, not a great practice like you talked about, Larry, earlier. So that team certainly got together and made a plan to come up with a different setup and see exactly what they can pull off in this practice.
Daniel Suarez, quick in our opening session. And right to the top here in our final opportunity on track before tomorrow's qualifying run. 2 laps for him. Best lap of 30.25. His last lap of 30.25. 29.92 was his quickest lap.
You can tell that this is final practice because the cars going around the racetrack almost looks like a conveyor belt right now. Plus, a lot of them sitting on pit road waiting to make a run.
Yeah, the track's pretty full, and you want to, it's a balance, Larry. You know this. You want to be able to get some clean track so you can see how the changes are going to affect your car. But then if you wind up in a little bit of traffic, that's not a bad thing either, because these cars are so stuck to the ground. When there's another car in front of you, he's just robbing the air from the nose of your car. And it makes, we've heard a lot of talk down in the garage area about the cars wanting to be tight in the center of the corner. In other words, crank the wheel left and the thing wants to go straight. And that's a real pain at a track like Vegas. And that's what these teams will be dealing with tomorrow.
3 hours of practice at Atlanta. I don't think ever we saw the track as full as what we see it right now, to your point. And Brad Keselowski is now the fastest car so far. He's turned 3 laps in that 22 Ford right behind him, riding with Joey Logano, going to make his first Xfinity start tomorrow here at Las Vegas.
Yeah, we talked about it in the first practice. Joey won a couple of Xfinity Series races last year, but the 22 and Brad Keselowski, it's been a while, hasn't it?
November 2015 Texas Motor Speedway, the last time the 22 car for Team Penske was able to experience victory with Brad behind the wheel. It's been an 18-race streak for Brad. He's closing on his longest winless streak in Xfinity competition.
Pretty good day for the captain, Roger Penske. Did you say he led practice down in St. Pete for the IndyCar race?
1-2.
How about that? And now here in final practice for the Xfinity race in Vegas, 1-2 again for the captain.
What was the word earlier? Domination when describing Kyle Busch last season? He took him behind a woodshed, didn't he?
Led all but 1 lap. Can you imagine that in your hometown, having a party like that? You heard Brendan Gaughan talking earlier how special it would be for him to drive to victory lane in his hometown, and that's exactly what Kyle did a year ago.
I teased Chris Gale, who was the crew chief on this car, now working with Eric Jones in the Monster Energy Series, but I teased Chris Gale after last year's race. I said, how did you screw up green flag pit stop so you couldn't lead all 200 laps?
I'm sure Kyle would have been fine leading all 200 laps. Man loves to check some boxes when it comes to his racing.
Austin Dillon on track, now in the 14th position, 18th earlier today.
Still not the short run speed that Austin is looking for, obviously, but must like his car. He's continuing to make laps on the track. That was his 7th time by.
Top 5 on Monster Energy Series regulars: Kyle Busch, Brad Keselowski, Joey Logano, Kyle Larson, and Daniel Suarez. Ty Dillon in 6th right now. Top, we likely will see some more mock qualifying runs here in final practice for the Xfinity Series. I think this guy just turned 1, Michael. P1 for Matt Tifft to 29.61. Your thoughts?
Definitely a qualifying run, and I like that strategy. And maybe what do you think, Larry? Will we go now on those on a long run with the setup that we used to qualify, and just see how the adjustments that the team might decide to make to the car will affect it?
Yeah, I do think this may be a pretty decent time to make a mock qualifying run. You heard Brendan Gaughan tell Jamie how the clouds have moved in. Qualifying 10 o'clock local time, so, you know, the track's not going to be all heated up. So, yeah, make a little mock qualifying run, and then let's run this thing out with a couple of long runs.
Kyle Busch was quickest when we went to break, and I think Brandon Jones probably made a mock qualifying run as well. Tipped at the top, Kyle Busch moved to 2nd, and Brandon Jones has jumped up to 3rd.
Well, the telltale sign that Matt Tifft and Brandon Jones made mock qualifying runs, they only ran the 1 lap, where Kyle Busch is 2nd. He's run 5 laps so far.
And down in 8th is Ty Dillon in the 3 car. He's run 15 laps. He's got the most laps on the track. So he started practice, liked what he was feeling, and decided to hang with it and see how the handling changes over the course of a longer haul.
Not bad lap times for Ty when you consider that he's making a race run. Look at the 42 of Kyle Larson, making his 2nd start of 2017, sharing the ride with Tyler Reddick, who won the truck race here last fall and will make his return. 2nd start of the year coming next week at Phoenix Raceway.
Is that his NASCAR Visa card on his headrest that I'm looking at?
Let's write that number down.
I think he's got some cash.
He's buying dinner tonight.
This is just, I love this. I could watch these guys. They look like astronauts down in that car. I could just watch them drive all day long. Hear him off the gas and right back in it. Wanting to get it down harder. He's passing a car on the outside. You can see there.
That was Larson coming through turns 3 and 4. Let's watch him into 1 and 2 and see how rough this ride is, where we know the bumps are pretty significant. A little bit of chatter there, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, we watched Kyle. Actually, in the first practice, he was starting to move the groove up, which we felt like he would probably be one of the first ones to do it. He went up about 1 car length in 1 and 2 and about a half a car length in 3 and 4, at least in the earlier practice.
Yeah, we talked in that opening session about Darrell Wallace Jr., the unbelievable run that he had last week at Atlanta. He's found his way into the top 10 here in final practice. Also good earlier today in that first tune-up.
You know, I did not realize this until this week. Junior Motorsports at Las Vegas in the Xfinity Series, they have 1 win, and it was their first win as an organization. And who was that driver? I was shocked.
Mark Martin.
It was Mark Martin.
And I believe he also got the first win for Steve Turner here in the Xfinity Series.
I believe you are right. I believe that is correct.
And his other 3, I got him down for 4 victories. The other 2 came for Jack Roush, and Roush has the all-time wins lead here when you talk about team owners.
Do you know what that victory in 2011, I think it was, for Mark Martin here at Vegas did for him that is significant?
I don't know.
In the history of NASCAR?
You going to tell us?
Let's go check in with Bubba Wallace first, and I'll let you ponder what might be significant about that win.
Let's do it.
There is that. 1.5. Really nice job. Still a little tight, though. Really good. Also, still fighting center exits, our biggest problem. 3 and 4, about a number worse than 1 and 2. We moved it about 1.5 numbers there, so we're creeping up on it. About a half number to 1 number off, so we're money.
It sounds like they're certainly making gains, but I love the scale that he's pretty much given Seth Barber as far as giving a number system as to how bad it is, how much of a gain we've made.
Well, and he said they're going to be money, and we're in Vegas.
That's it.
It's a good combination.
The significance of Mark Martin's victory here in 2011. We'll try and figure that out during the break.
What this guy could think of.
40 minutes to go, final practice. It's Fast Friday on FS2, presented by K&N with Michael Waltrip, Larry McReynolds. I'm Adam Alexander. Happy to have you with us from Sin City. Busy weekend of NASCAR. Matt Tiff leads the way here in our practice session. Then it's his teammate Kyle Busch, Brandon Jones, Brad Keselowski, and Blake Cook now completes the top 5.
This is valuable information Kyle Busch is getting there, diving underneath Ryan Reed and getting the nose of that Toyota Camry to stick to the road where he could complete that pass. The time before that, the lap before that, he ran a 29.88, that time a 29.99, so that's not a lot of fall off considering he made a pass there.
And Ryan Reed, when you look at the speed charts, not bad, Jamie, back in 8th.
Yeah, and I talked to him right before he got in the car. He said, we're pretty happy with the long run. We need fire-off speed a little bit better. But the main thing was getting around the bumps. And he said when he went up high and avoided the bumps, his car was smooth, obviously. But he was happy with that speed. Now the feedback is, he said the left rear, when they're under max load in the corner, he has a slight vibration. So they've been trying to figure that out in the left rear area. But overall, he said the car feels really good to start this practice.
He's run a total of 7 laps, sitting right now 8th quickest.
That's progress. The first session didn't look that great. We talked about Matt Tifft earlier. He was the fastest car with that qualifying run. We thought he might make some adjustments and go back out. It would be interesting to see what kind of pace he can run now. His fast lap was a 29.60. That was a 30.27. So he's fallen right into a race groove here.
Matt's not been here in the Xfinity Series, does have a couple of truck starts here. And when you consider he had never been to Atlanta Motor Speedway at all, that top 12 run last week, very impressive for this rookie out of up near Cleveland, Ohio. Chris, what do you have for us?
Well, Justin Allgaier is hoping that by coming to Las Vegas, hopefully his luck in 2017 is going to change. He started off the season with back-to-back 30th place finishes, wrecks in the first 2 races, and he said, we've had speed, I just haven't had any luck. So he's hoping that that is all going to change this weekend. Right now, just 23rd on the board. He said the car just way too harsh over the bumps down in turns 1 and 2, and when he gets down to 3 and 4, he just can't get the front end of that car to grip the racetrack.
Every team strives for consistency. That's not the kind of consistency you're looking for. Back-to-back 30th place finishes to start the campaign. Darrell Wallace Jr. now back in 12th.
Yeah, Ty Dillon has still run the most laps of anyone, 15 laps, and I think that was actually a consecutive run, 15 laps to start practice.
Well, and he's the only driver. I'm not sure that 15 was, could very well be, Larry, but we keep track of consecutive 10-lap runs on our board here, and he's the only driver to put up 10 laps in a row. Fastest 5-lap average to Brad Keselowski right now.
Wow. Jumps up to 5th with that lap. He told him the adjustments he was needing when he was breaking down the corners. Said if they could make those adjustments and move his number system, they were going to be money. That lap was money.
Yeah, who he just knocked out of the top 5, though, Blake Cookin at 11. We were talking about he and that team in the first practice. They just need something good to hang their hat on leaving here tomorrow afternoon.
Got beat up at Daytona. Not a terrible finish, but got beat up there and then wrecked out in the opening lap last week at Atlanta. Finished dead last. And I don't think he was feeling great about their opportunity at Atlanta anyway, but they didn't even have a chance to work on the thing. And here he comes this week bringing more speed. Good opportunity for he and Chris Rice to get the ship going in the right direction. And you know a team that's been out of the gate strong in 2017, the 24 for JGL. A couple of different drivers. Scott Lagasse Jr., top 10 run at Daytona. Corey LaJoie, outstanding last week at Atlanta. And this weekend, Drew Herring driving the 24. In fact, he'll be in it next week at Phoenix as well. What do you see down there, Jamie?
Well, William Byron in the garage right now. I just had a word with him, and he said the front end is really aggressive. He said they were in the track more than he wanted to be. So they're trying to adjust on that with springs and shocks. But also, once he came into the garage, they discovered that he had a left rear going down. So Dave Ellens, the crew chief, talking to NASCAR, trying to get word if they can get an additional left rear. But for now, they're just putting on another set of sticker tires. But very limited on the sets of tires that they have here in the Xfinity Series.
But Jamie, the good thing, he being a rookie, he gets an additional set to practice. So unlike most everyone else having 2, he has 3.
But while Jamie was doing a report, we had the numbers for Junior Motorsports in this session. Quickest to the bunch is William Byron in 15th. I know there have been some mock qualifying runs, but that's not the number we expect out of him. Beautiful Friday afternoon, Las Vegas Motor Speedway. And this is a great time of year for NASCAR. Heading west, first of 3 consecutive races out in this region of the country. Las Vegas Motor Speedway tomorrow, 3:30 Eastern on FS1. On Fox next week from the Desert Mile. And in 2 weeks' time, that big, fast 2-mile oval in Fontana.
And all I know, the weather here in Vegas looking great all 3 days we're here. And even next week in Phoenix, supposed to be around 90 degrees all 3 days.
Love it. What a great trip out west it is. Go to Toyota Racing at Toyota Racing on Twitter. Hashtag Go West, young man. Haven't you been told?
Who's driving this car?
Eric Almirola.
Okay, who's his Cup crew chief?
Trent.
No, Drew Blickensderfer
Drew
now, right?
Blickensderfer.
Yeah. So Drew Blickensderfer, he's going to be on NASCAR Race Hub Monday, and you know who's going to be driving this car in the near future? Casey Mears, who also will be on NASCAR Race Hub Monday, 7 p.m. Eastern time.
Y'all just have a reunion there, don't you? We got the drivers, we got
Yes.
the crew chiefs, we got the analysts, we got it all on the hub.
That's Monday. Tuesday at 7, Joey Logano, Chad Knaus. Knaus making his first appearance of the year.
And don't leave out Justin Allgaier. He's going to
with
be
a big
there as
announcement.
well. So, yeah.
Regan
So,
Smith.
and remember, Monday through Wednesday next week, 7 p.m. Eastern time. Thursday, back to 6 p.m. normal time.
I'm really anxious to watch this guy tomorrow because Daniel Suarez has some speed in that 20 car. This has been a good track for him last couple of years. Added track time, obviously doing double duty, and I think they're getting close to where they need to be.
Yeah, I agree with you, Adam. And plus, you know, I like to think what Kyle Larson accomplished last week at Atlanta in the Xfinity race. Kyle Larson is famous for running right around the top of the track. His spotter and crew chief talked to him and said, we need to learn the bottom today in the Xfinity race. It'll pay off tomorrow. He nearly won the Cup race with the lessons he learned on Saturday in the Xfinity car. Think about Suarez trying to get up to speed on Sundays. What better way than to get some Saturday afternoon training in this 20 car?
You know, we sat down with Daniel and talked with him back at Speed Weeks, and he said, you know, there were some weekends where I did double duty last year, Xfinity and trucks, and he says that was hard. But he said it didn't take me long to realize at Daytona, doing double duty, running the Sprint Cup car in the Xfinity, he said, I'm loving it. but it is really tough and hard to do.
But I'm thinking about the balance there, Michael, of you want to gain the knowledge. The added track time will do that, but at the same time, as Larry pointed out, you don't want to overwhelm yourself with too much.
Yeah, but he's a young kid. He works out. There's a template out there, Adam, for success by running on Saturday and Sunday, and Kyle Busch drew it up. And ever since I've been in this sport, when I was a kid, my heroes raced on the Saturday races and then raced on Sunday afternoon. And it's certainly a way to learn. It's a great way to get experience, and it's a lot of fun to win no matter what you're in.
Two rookies here. Saw the 9 of William Byron go around the 23 of Spencer Gallagher. Gallagher, another Las Vegas native, looking to do positive things in his hometown this weekend.
He's currently 23rd fastest. Didn't have a great opening session, and just trying to get that car set up in a way that he can hammer it.
This mile and a half is a busy place. A lot of cars on track. Halfway through final practice here in Vegas. Here we go. NASCAR goes west. It all begins tomorrow on FS1. 3:30 Eastern Time. Jamie McMurray in the booth with Michael and me as we call 300 miles of Xfinity action. Then on Sunday, it's Monster Energy Cup teams on track. 3 p.m. Eastern Time. You can watch the action live on Fox. Number of drivers running both Saturday and Sunday. Among them, Brad Keselowski, who will look for his second Las Vegas sweep, and Austin Dillon looking to continue some momentum from years past. Been a really good track for him, but Larry, you pointed out to me during the break, speed not maybe where they want it. Some progress, though. That 2 car up to 10th on the speed chart.
Well, I get a feeling that Justin Alexander, crew chief for Austin Dillon, more adjustments, I'm sure, but probably put a fresh set of Goodyear tires on there. And I'm sure that's where some of the speed, but they have definitely come a long way since the track opened for practice for them earlier today.
This guy's been up near the top of the speed chart in both sessions. Brad Keselowski in the 22 car, driving for Roger Penske.
So, Xfinity teams have gone to the lower downforce in 2017. And we talked about it from the perspective of Daniel Suarez. He's just got so much to manage as he gains knowledge throughout the early portion of this, his rookie year at NASCAR's top level. But for a guy like Brad Keselowski, racing this car on Saturday and the same characteristics now from Saturday to Sunday and the same tire, how big of a benefit for a veteran like that?
I just think like I said earlier, the more repetitions, you want to get out there. You want to feel what the tire has a tendency to do, what the fall off is. The crew chief wants to see the air pressure build up and maybe what a round of wedge or some track bar adjustments will do to the car on these tires. And when you've got a guy behind the wheel like Brad Keselowski, he's the onboard computer. You do anything to that car, he's going to be able to report to you how it affected it. Everybody learns when you have talent like that behind the wheel.
And he's going through those starts early in the year.
Really too many cars that I'm looking at here that are laying any 29s down now that haven't put tires on. That 2 car was on tires right there. Yeah, I haven't seen any 29s in a long time.
That was crew chief Greg Irwin, one of the voices you heard there, giving Brad Keselowski, talking about no one really running in the 29-second bracket. In fact, that run right there, Brad's last run was a 30-10. But yeah, Brad, a lot like Kyle Busch, he can only run 10 of these Xfinity Series races by the new rules. None of them can be in the playoff, and none of them can be the Dash for Cash races.
First one of those next week at Phoenix.
That's right.
Dash for Cash. Going to put some extra money on the line for all these series regulars.
So that would probably lead me to believe that Ryan Blaney will be in that 22 car next year, next week.
I'd say you're right. Less than 5 years of experience for him at NASCAR's top level. Therefore, he would qualify to run any race with the exception of the the season finale at Homestead. See Brendan Gaughan left of your screen, fastest in the opening practice. He's 7th right now, and his teammate on the right, Brandon Jones, currently 3rd.
With that right there, I was starting to get pretty gnarly both ends, mainly through center exit. I'm finding too, if I jump out the throttle kind of quick on the entry, that's where I'm getting my free end. Both ends right there. If I gradually roll out of it, it doesn't do it.
And that just seems to be a common theme. The deeper you go into a run, we've heard it all day long, especially in the Xfinity Series, the cars get tighter. They're not turning as good. I think it's a combination. I think we're seeing more and more rubber laid down in the corners. That makes the cars a little tighter. And the fact is, you go through a run, you're burning that fuel off, and that makes them tighter.
I think, though, for young drivers like a Brandon Jones or some of the other rookies that we'll be talking about this weekend and throughout 2017, and I actually asked William Byron about this earlier today, there's a great benefit to stage racing. Because you know if your car is not where it needs to be, you got a break coming up, a caution to work on it. And William Byron compared it to what he dealt with last year in the Truck Series when he had the caution clock. You know you're not going to go some long, long green flag run where you got to figure it out on your own. And that is really nice for the young guys that are trying to get acclimated. What's up, Jamie?
Well, last night we had a Speedway Children's Charity Auction to help our local Las Vegas kids. Well, Ryan Sieg and Ryan Sieg Racing, a big part of our auction last night. They decided to come on big, and they offered a sponsorship deal for their car, and you could get your name on the side panels, the quarter panels, and in the back, be a member of the team, and all of the proceeds go to Speedway Children's Charities. And one of our guys, Steven, right here, he gets to put his company on the quarter panels of this race car and enjoy the experience all weekend long just to help out a charity. And that says a lot for Ryan Sieg. This is a smaller team, only 4 full-time employees with them. So we appreciate what Ryan Sieg did, and it's a pretty cool experience to bring new people into our sport.
Yeah, and Jamie, Speedway Children's Charities has done so much for so many people. Chapters at each of the SMI tracks, and it's good to see them getting involved this weekend here at Las Vegas Motor Speedway. Larry, I'm going to give you some advice. You need to follow Toyota Racing on Twitter, and always use the hashtag NASCAR Goes West.
You know, this is the 3rd year we've done this NASCAR Goes West, and I was a little apprehensive about it. I said, that's going to be a lot. That's a lot in one area. I've got to say now that we are starting our 3rd year of doing it, it's been one of the better schedule changes that I think NASCAR and the tracks have done in a while.
And if you want to follow me on Twitter and hashtag Mikey Goes West, you can join me as well. I'm a big fan of the Twitter machine. Try to enjoy that and let the fans know what's going on. And talking about the schedule and the fans, Larry, the midway here is full. There's activity everywhere at the Las Vegas Motor Speedway, and the weather's going to be perfect for the next 2 races for sure. I think it's a great time to be a NASCAR fan.
And then that announcement made this week, second date here, sometime in the playoffs. And you know, last night on the Strip, Linda and I were walking to dinner, and to see the fans that had lined the streets and the walkover bridges to see the hauler parade, it looked like a Thanksgiving Day parade, as many people that were out there watching them come down Las Vegas Boulevard.
Linda being your wife, and I would say she's your better half, but it's more like your better 75%.
Like many of us, I definitely outkicked my coverage a number of years ago.
No doubt about it.
Brennan Poole down in the 13th spot in this practice session, working his way through turns 1 and 2, bouncing through the bumps in the middle you see there.
It just looks uncomfortable to me. You know?
It looks great to me. Every time I see this, what we're looking at here with Joey Logano, I just want to be that guy. I want to be in that car and wheeling that thing. It looks so fun, and it's exactly what it feels like when you're in the car. So cool, we get to ride along with them.
Logano undefeated in the 12th car last year. Won at Watkins Glen, also won at Charlotte in October, playoff race. New man atop the scoring pylon here at Las Vegas Motor Speedway. It's that guy, reigning champion Daniel Suarez. And here's something we've seen a lot of in recent years, especially at the mile-and-a-half tracks. Gibbs 1, 2, 3, and right now on the practice sheet it's Suarez, Tift, and Kyle Busch. And when you think about mile-and-a-half success, I mean, there's been no one better. I mean, you see where Gibbs is here. They've won 9 of the last 12, led over 1,400 laps in those last 12 mile-and-a-half races, and I think they won those 9 events with 5 different drivers, if I'm right. It's been very, very impressive.
And this racetrack has been good for Roush Fenway Racing. You saw Roush Fenway on there. The winningest owner with 6 wins, as well as the winningest owner in the Monster Energy Cup Series.
And also, they're the all-time wins leader where we were last week at Atlanta. So certainly, when you look at the Roush Fenway organization, very, very good when it comes to these intermediates as well. Just over 15 minutes to go in final practice. Standing here in the booth at Las Vegas Motor Speedway, looking down to the Monster Energy Series garage. Won't be long before those cars are rolling out to qualify. 14 minutes and change for Xfinity teams in final practice. And Michael, you have some explaining to do. Mark Martin, what do you have to say about the NASCAR Hall of Famer and his win here in 2011 in the Xfinity Series?
He became just the 3rd driver to win a NASCAR race in one of NASCAR's top 3 touring series with that victory.
I believe there's more to that.
Yeah, you got to keep going.
In 4 different
There
decades.
you go.
In
There
4
you go.
different decades.
Mark won in the 80s, the 90s, the O's, and then 2011.
That's a
won
pretty
enough.
impressive stat. Who's the other 2, though?
Dale Earnhardt won in the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, and the O's in the Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series. And the 3rd is your old buddy Mike, who won in the 80s, 90s, O's, and 11 in the truck.
Now, you were very confident with everything you said, but your facial expression was priceless in the lack of confidence of what you were saying.
That's
there.
because everybody in this booth is staring at me like, what's he going to say now?
We've been waiting for 4 hours to get that answer out of you. I'm glad that's out of the way. Chris, what's happening in the garage?
Well, just haven't seen a lot of speed out of the Junior Motorsports cars. Elliott Sadler making lots of changes to his car earlier in the run, just saying didn't really like the direction that the changes were going. The car was getting harder to drive, and they did start this practice on older tires. Well, just a few laps ago, they did switch over to new tires and haven't seen much speed out of that car. So Elliott Sadler still trying to find that comfort zone, that sweet spot that they've had with their mile-and-a-half program. Not finding it today.
He's the fastest. You see the numbers here, the fastest of the 4 cars for Junior Motorsports at 14th. William Byron is 16th. Allgaier up to 20th. He was back in the mid-20s earlier in this session, and Michael Annett is 26th. And keeping in mind, coming into the weekend, 1-2 in points, what you saw there on the board. Elliott Sadler, the championship leader when you look at the regular season standings, and behind him is William Byron, his rookie teammate.
You know, these stages tomorrow, they're going to be interesting. And the first 2, 45 laps at lap 45 and lap 90. And then actually the final stage of the race is 110 laps. That's a little longer than the Cup final stage on Sunday.
And if you think about last week, we were at a mile-and-a-half, but a different breakdown because it was a 250-mile race. We'll be 300 miles in totality here tomorrow. Crew chief, you thinking strategy, and how does it all break out?
Yeah, this is definitely going to be different than Atlanta because the tire give-up is not quite as significant as Atlanta. So there'll be strategy all over the place.
You know what good strategy would be? Just find some speed in that race car and let them follow you around.
Or go to commercial now.
Yeah. The clock has not stopped for final practice at Las Vegas Motor Speedway, but the action on track has ceased. That's because our old friend, number 21, Daniel Hemrick, went for a ride. Look off in the distance. Coming right at you there.
How about that?
He was, I think he was coming to pit road, it looked like, the way he was down there.
Yeah, he said on the radio he just messed up. So obviously whatever his plan was, he's not a fan of it.
Yeah,
Better to learn today than tomorrow.
Got that right.
They are on the wrong side of the scoring monitor. We have 20 on the left and the rest on the right. We always say you want to be on the left-hand side. He's 21st right now. He's run a total of 23 laps, and we're down to about 8 minutes to go in this practice.
But I think about, we talk about these mile-and-a-half racetracks. 11 of them on the schedule, 5 of them in the playoffs. And last week, the guys that were fast struggling to find the speed today, and some of those that you would say struggled last week, have put themselves up top. And here we are last week at Atlanta Motor Speedway. Hemrick into the wall, grazed it just a bit.
And that's what you run at Atlanta, Adam. You're running right out next to the wall. So that was just casual contact. He was able to overcome that and had a decent run. But I'm a little bit surprised by who's running well and who isn't here in Vegas. We talked earlier in the practice that parity was what that session was all about. We had a Ford, a Toyota, and a Chevy in the top 3, and now there's 3 Toyotas in the top 3. Those Joe Gibbs racing cars are getting it done in this session.
I don't know where Parity went, but he's gone. You know who has found some speed, though? Final opportunity on track. Ryan Reed, 11th. Where are they with balance, Jamie?
Yeah, after 26 laps, they've been working on it. He told me before he got in they really wanted to work on that fire-off speed. But just before he came into the garage, Adam, he told his guys, driving-wise, this is the best car I've ever had. So he loves it. They're just trying to make it a little bit faster. As he backs out now, he's going to get up to speed and then come down pit road and do a practice pit stop, which for a lot of these young guys is wise because they say how slick it is here. So watch for the 16 to practice.
And Jamie, you can tell the clock is about to expire in final practice because as soon as the green flag went back in the air, out they all went.
Yeah, I think they know this could indeed be their final run before we have to qualify in the morning and race tomorrow afternoon.
So we're going green tomorrow, sometime after 1 o'clock local time. Closing on 4 right now. This about the time of day, maybe a little later, but about this time tomorrow when we'll be putting that checkered flag in the air. So this is a real good opportunity because weather is supposed to stay consistent. A real good opportunity to go out and get a feel for what this track is going to be like in the latter stages of tomorrow's race.
This is a team that's needing to find something. Michael Annett is all the way down in 27th in this 5 car. And what I saw down in turn 1 and 2, Larry, wasn't much Michael Annett could do. He got in that corner and the thing just really looked like it bottomed out. Really rigid looking in the front and up the racetrack it went. Let's see if he can do a better line this time because last time it just bounced right out of the track. You could see the sparks there. So it's got some issues with the 5 car.
Yeah, they've been searching for speed ever since they unloaded that car earlier this morning in both these practices.
Did mention Junior Motorsports had not found the speed. Michael Annett a part of that group. But William Byron has now jumped up in the top 10, carrying the flag for NASCAR most popular drivers team. Just over 2 minutes to go. Final practice for NASCAR Xfinity Series teams. We're live at Las Vegas Motor Speedway. It's Fast Friday presented by K&N. And living up to its name of Fast Friday, the Joe Gibbs Toyotas, Daniel Suarez, Matt Tifft, and Kyle Busch. 1, 2, 3. Thank you very much.
Kyle Busch, of course, the dominating performance here a year ago in the first session. The Gibbs cars looked mortal, but now they look like supermen again.
While we were away, Spencer Gallagher turned his fastest lap of the session inside the top 10. He's 9th, a 29.77, and I'm guessing that might have been a mock qualifying run to get a beat on where they need to be for qualifying here tomorrow. You can watch it 1 Eastern time.
Had dinner with Daniel Suarez last night talking about his championship season and all the things he's been through in such a short period of time. Just an energetic young man, a fun guy just to listen to and just see his enthusiasm for NASCAR through his eyes. It's really impressive.
See Kyle Busch there in the 18 car. He just made a mock pit stop. Obviously, speeding penalties was huge in Atlanta for both series. In fact, if you look at the last 8 Xfinity Series races here, 72 total pit road speeding penalties. So what NASCAR has done, they've got the computer screen that they use in the control booth. They've put it down there for the teams to look at as their driver comes down pit road. And there's numbers there, but it's simple. If it comes up red in a segment, that means you exceeded the time in that segment. And they've added segments here from last year just like they did in Atlanta.
A lot of photos being taken down there. You want to take that data and give it to the driver so he knows exactly where he needs to be. You talk about all those speeding penalties. The fewest we've had came in since 2009, came in 2013. We had 4 of them that year. That's the only time we were under 5. And if you look at other years here, just go back to 2014, 19 speeding penalties in this race.
But I guarantee you, and this is, I think, why NASCAR was reluctant to do this. They're writing these times down. They're going to go back and say, hey, you can run a little faster through this segment right here. You can run a little faster through this segment here. I guarantee you that's what they're doing.
Yeah, and you know, it's just such an exact science. You have lights on your tachometer, Larry, and those lights light up, and you know when you get a red one, you're too fast, but you're also a driver in there, and you can back down to the yellow light and gain that speed back. But the tighter the sections are, the more difficult it is to make that adjustment. You go red, and you're at the end of a segment, you don't have time to back it down.
Exactly.
You'll get caught speeding. So the driver, he understands his job. And we heard last week Kevin Harvick talk about getting, with Rodney Childers, getting beat on your rolling speed. He knew he needed to get everything he could get so he could get out of the pits fastest in Atlanta on that last stop, and it got him.
I mean, what I'm seeing right there, that's segment 1. That is entering, and it's a very, very short segment. To Michael's point, Jimmy Johnson told me the same thing. If I hit a red, I almost don't have time to react to get back down and cut one of the greens off because the segments are so short.
Brad Keselowski won the Monster Energy Series race here last year. Caught speeding, rallied back to get the victory. So practice is complete. Opening session earlier today went to the hometown hero, Brendan Gaughan. And the final opportunity on track to Daniel Suarez.
But I definitely see some of our Xfinity Series regulars up there running some pretty quick times. We talked about Matt Tiff. He's second in this practice right here. Brandon Jones, he's fifth. If you look back at the first practice earlier, Brandon Jones was fifth. William Byron was fourth. So some of our Xfinity Series regulars, some of the rookies, running some fast times.
In this session, I'm really impressed with Tiff, obviously up in the second spot. But then we saw Spencer Gallagher struggle for speed. He got it at the end. The same thing with Blake Cook. Darrell Wallace Jr. has been good all day long. So I think we see some stories here that are some of the Xfinity kids that can go up there and compete with the Cup guys tomorrow afternoon.
Talked about the drivers inside the top 10. Brendan Gaughan fast earlier today in our first practice. 11th quick here. Ryan Reed comfortable with his car in the top 12. Kyle Larson probably working on the 42 car over the long haul. He was 13th. 43 cars here this weekend. 3 will go home. And we'll find out who they are when we qualify tomorrow. It happens at 10 o'clock local time out here in Las Vegas. That's 1 o'clock Eastern. You can see that live on FS1. Our race coverage tomorrow, 3:30 Eastern time. It happens on FS1 as well.
Little Cup qualifying about to happen here.
That happens in 30 minutes.
Speeds over 200 miles an hour down into the corners. It's going to be intense.
So Monster Energy, NASCAR Cup qualifying, the next item of business on our to-do list from Vegas. It happens 30 minutes from now, right now. Let's head off to the studio and John Roberts.